called Bright Idea. And last we left off, the studio got, you know, the lights in the studio were turned out, and there was some stuff happening. So we were in the middle of some action when we left off last. Um, by the way, all of the chapters up till now are available on YouTube. I did put all the streams up, so they are there. As your eyes adjust to the darkness, you look for the cause of the outage, but you don't see anything suspicious or anything at all. And Sarah says, "What the heck happened?" And Aubrey's like, "Is everyone okay?" June's like, "Well, good question. I'll go check on Maggie. I mean, makeup. Everyone else." And you hear June's heels click tentatively across the floor as she gropes her way toward the stairs. And Alec, "More importantly, which of you imbeciles is to blame for this?" And Sarah says, "Well, it seems to be out of our control, sir." Alec, "I'm tired of your smart mouth, Gibson. Keep your snark to yourself." Sarah's like, "What?" Alec, "Aubrey, get our technician down to the studio. We can't afford to grind to a halt in the middle of the day." And Aubrey's like, "Well, Mr. Burdock, Darnell is on vacation." "I don't care, get him here," Alex shouts. And Aubrey says, "Well, he's in the Caribbean on his honeymoon." And Alec is like, "Then patiently call him repeatedly." Dang, Alec. Come on. Be reasonable, sir. Be reasonable. And Sarah says, "Well, I have someone who might be able to help us at the last minute. Just let me give him a call and check." And you dial Jaime's number and spring into an explanation as soon as he picks up. And Jaime's like, "Hey, Sarah, what's up? Aren't you at work right now?" And Sarah says, "That's the thing. Our electricity just blew out, and I know you fix everything you touch, so I thought I'd call." And Jaime chuckles. All right, you got me. I'm on my way, only because you asked so nicely." Mr. Fix-It, Jaime's magical hands can get anything up and running. Wait, was that was was that a thing? Maybe I read way too much into that. Within the half hour, Jaime arrives using his phone as a flashlight. Jaime says, "Hey there, you should try this while you're waiting on me, you know." And Sarah says, "I used the last of my battery to call you, actually. I was going to charge my phone at work today, but..." Jaime says, "Oh, right." Sarah says, "Yep. But now you're here."
Brace yourself for immediate disintegration.
Rescuing me as always. Fighter 9, thank you for the invasion. We love a good invasion. After all, we are Martians. And Jaime wraps you up in a warm hello hug, and then he'll pull away from each other and he runs a hand through his hair. "What's up, Fighter 9? Jaime says, "Anytime, Sarah." And Sarah's thinking, "In the dark with him at last. Boy, I'm glad he can't read my thoughts." Yes, a storytime raid. Well, thank you for doing that. If you've never seen my channel before, what's up? I am MartianKat. This is an app. It's a mobile app called Choices. The book that we're reading is called Wishful Thinking. I love your emotes. Fighter 9 is good. Those are good. You feel his gaze linger on you as Aubrey's voice draws your attention, and a drifting silhouette closes in on you, and you have the urge to strike out at them. And Aubrey says, "Hey there! You must be, Jaime Lewis." I want to call him Luis. It just works better. So Jaime Luis. And Sarah's thinking, whew, close one. And Aubrey says, "Well, thanks for getting here on such short notice." And they shake hands and Jaime nods. And he says, well, Ms. Gibson is near and dear to me, so I couldn't just leave her in the dark. Pun intended. And Aubrey says, well, I can't say that I'm surprised. Sarah has lots of fans around here, too. And Aubrey nods toward the hall. Aubrey says, well, let me show you down to the basement, then we'll get out of your hair. And you settle against the nearest desk as Aubrey and Jaime head off. And a few minutes later, Aubrey returns and makes a beeline for you. Maggie and June enter behind him. And Aubrey leans on the desk with you. And he's like, this is weird, huh? It's so dark in here. I feel like we're doing a corporate sleepover or something. And Sarah's like, if this is a sleepover, we should tell scary stories. You have to admit, this is the perfect atmosphere. And you cup your mouth and cast a haunting call into the rafters of the studio. Ow! Wait, that was more wolf. Ooh! There we go. That's more ghost. And Maggie's like, well, who the heck is that? Because they can stop right now. And June says, aw, Maggie, I'm sure it's not a real ghost. I don't care about ghosts. What if there's a serial killer here? And they make ghost noises to scare their victims? And Sarah says, okay, I'll admit that was me if you'll admit that you watch way too many crime dramas. Fish is like, I thought we were in Wolf Bride for a hot second there. No, I'm sorry. I know, it was like right after I did that, I was like, oh, wait, that's not a ghost, that's a wolf. Alec enters the studio from the hallway, glaring at everyone in his path. And Alec is looking pretty angry, and he says, don't just wander around like a bunch of geese. Get back to work. The power's out, but the clock's still running, isn't it? And Sarah says, it's literally not. And Aubrey's thinking, he's just in a bad mood because of the outage. There's no way people could really work like this. And so Aubrey says out loud, hey, Alec's right, everybody. We gotta find a way to make this the most productive day we can, given the circumstances. And an audible groan ripples through the studio. And Sarah says, oh, it's okay, guys. Jaime's on the job, and that means our power will be back in basically nanoseconds. And Tony's like, well, it's been 5 billion nanoseconds since you said that. Sarah's like, oh, I also said basically. Alex says, well, we'll all be able to return to business as usual with a little lighting. I think we used to have a studio counselor who had candles. I can almost still smell that hideous sandalwood. Ugh. I hid them where no one would ever find them again. And a voice says, that's where my candles went. Alex like, I guess we still have a studio counselor. Anyway, Aubrey, go grab them from the big supply closet on the 3rd floor. Maybe get a pal to hold your ladder. And Alec leaves the studio again, slamming into 2 desks on his way out. And Sarah says, looks like you're about to be Alec's accomplice in the distribution of stolen candles. Aubrey says, I remember one of my job interview questions was, are you willing to do anything? And I thought, he's probably being dramatic. Sarah says, well, on the bright side, this is probably the only way our counselor's ever going to get his candles back. Aubrey says, I can think of another bright side. Get paid to root around in the dark with a pal. Want to come with me? It'd be a shame to break my neck. It's my best feature. Help Aubrey get the candles for a chance to explore the dark office and maybe share a flirty moment or two. I don't know. I kind of feel like he's just trying to get me alone. And I'm not sure about that. I'm going to say, you got it covered. You got it. You go ahead. And Sarah says, I appreciate that you trust me to hold your ladder stable, but June's got the coordination for the job. You'll thank me later. And Aubrey rubs his neck and smiles. If you're sure. June, want to rummage around in the dark closet with me? June's like, oh yeah, it's the whole reason I got into journalism. And you settle down at your desk and try to get some work done in the dark, but it's hard. When Aubrey and June return with candles, you look up in relief. Aubrey says, let there be light. June says, Sarah, I did it! I got the candles, even though it was really dark and I could have died. And Sarah says, "Go, June! I knew you had it in you!" And Maggie says, "The ambient lighting is honestly kind of nice. Is it crazy that I hope Mr. Luis isn't done too soon?" And Sarah says, "Well, I wouldn't mind milking this either. I'm going to go check on him and see if he needs anything." And Jude says, "Right, like a long chat." And you grin and wave goodbye, heading out of the studio and down into the basement. And you creep down the basement steps, lit dimly by a generator. And Jaime looks up from inspecting the breaker box and smiles. And Jaime says, "Hey there, I was hoping you might drop by to give me some company." Sarah says, "Yeah, you get to visit my studio. It's just too bad you're stuck working down here." Jaime says, "Well, alright, that's alright. It's my job." "So what's the verdict, Doc?" "My guess is it was another lightning bolt? Or maybe even the same lightning bolt coming back to get me." Jaime says, "I'd say that sounds crazy, but lately, life seems more and more like a fantasy novel. I mean, you can read minds. You're going to Swanky Balls, and this circuit box went through the Battle of Mordor." And you look over Jaime's shoulder, but quickly realize you have no idea what you're looking for. And Sarah says, "Well, okay, now explain to me how all this works." Jaime says, "Well, you've got little wires for every breaker. If one was flipped, it'd mean an overloaded circuit, which is an easy fix. But the entire thing has been flipped off, and several of the wires are clipped." Sarah says, "They're not just frayed or burnt out? That's weird, isn't it?" Jaime says, "It's not weird, if you consider the possibility of sabotage. And from the looks of it, I'd say someone intentionally tampered with this." And Sarah says, "I can't believe it! Which lines were cut?" And Jaime says, "All the wires on the first floor through the third floor. The other floors look fine." "Does that give you any clues?" And Sarah says, "Well, we do most of our work on the first 3 levels. Maybe someone wanted the whole studio to stop working." And Jaime says, "Or maybe they wanted to throw us off their scent by cutting lots of wires, but they only needed one." Sarah says, "I wonder who would do something like this. I can't believe it. We must have pissed someone off. A disgruntled former employee, a rival news station. The possibilities are endless. And if you consider how many enemies my boss has, the candidate pool widens exponentially." Jaime says, "Well, we've got to try to narrow it down." Sarah says, "Well, if this happened just a half hour ago, the culprit might still be in the building." And Jaime says, "Well, if you don't think they could have slipped out, if it was me, I'd want to leave the scene of the crime, but are there fingerprints? I guess we'd have to get the police down here for that, and in Northbridge, they're way too busy to handle a prank," Sarah says. Jaime says, "That's another thing I wanted to mention. I think these handles have been recently wiped down." "Hey, Belber, you finished your replay of Mother of the Year and your diamonds in shambles." The Mother of the Year was a really good story. I'll be real with you. I went in there planning to diamond mine and then ended up loving the story. Granted, as we took the collection from 900 to 300. Yes. And Sarah says, "Well, how can you tell?" And Jaime says, "Well, they have an oddly floral smell. I think someone used a baby wipe or a makeup wipe." You just cry. Oh no. Belber says, "I associate the open heart music with Mother of the Year more personally. I cry." I agree with Fishty. Mother of the Year is a very good book. Sarah says, "Well, that tells us it definitely wasn't a prank." And Jaime says, "But it also tells us whoever did this wasn't enough of a professional to know they could just use their sleeve. You look around the basement, suddenly feeling like anyone could be lurking in the shadows. Jaime, hold me! And you step closer to Jaime and lean into him. And he wraps an arm around you and rubs your back. Considered the word climax a sexual term. That's why. My auto mod is very, very picky with words. If you want that confidence boost, just know it'll cost you 25 diamonds. Yes, go buy gummy bears and then come back. You're good. You're good. You're good. I love gummy bears. Make sure you bring enough to share. And you step closer to Jaime and lean into him, and he wraps an arm around you and rubs your back. And Jaime says, "It's going to be alright. I know I don't technically work here, but you can always call me anytime. I'll be right there." And he's thinking, I'm not going to let anything happen to you, Sarah. You hear me? Hey, Eric. And Sarah says, I hear you. Thanks, Jamie. Or Jaime. And then Jaime looks pretty mad. And he says, well, whoever did this is risking jail time and serious fines. Not only that, but they could have accidentally fried themselves. So tomorrow I get to go and hang out with Eric and his partner for a podcast tomorrow. That's going to be fun. His friend Jerry. It'll be good times. I'm very much looking forward to it. And Sarah says, well, that's one heck of a profile. They sound like they're willing to lose it all, but why? And Jaime still looks a little bit perturbed, and he says, all I know for sure is that I don't want someone like that skulking around your office. Sarah looks really nervous as she says, yeah, I'm going to have to tell Alec, even though telling Alec anything at all has never worked out for me. In the long run, he'll probably find some way to say it was our fault. And Jaime says, are you serious for warning him about a vandal in the building? And Sarah says, well, I wouldn't be surprised. He's always looking for someone to blame, and it's usually whoever is closest to him. I didn't even think about doing that, Belber. That makes sense, though. I didn't even think about it. And Jaime says, okay, look, I'm going to finish rewiring these fuses. It shouldn't take too long, and I'll support your story. He might have some issue with listening to you, but I'm the man he's paying to check this out. And Sarah says, well, a word of advice. Before instigating with him, do a few deep breathing exercises and repeat a mantra. And Sarah says, I am with the Alec, but not of the Alec. Something like that. Jaime says, okay, I will. Be careful up there, alright? And you promise you will. And say goodbye, heading back up the stairs and to hunt Alec down and let him know what's going on. You poke your head into Alec's office, but no one appears to be here until you notice a faint, papery scrabbling sound. And someone's thinking, running out of time. Squinting, you step deeper into the office. Someone is in here, and they're being quiet, but their thoughts are pretty loud. Happy Thursday, Pixelberry Studios! Welcome! Sarah says, Mr. Burdock, hello? And Ellen looks shocked. She's the one in the office. And Sarah says, Ellen! What the hell are you doing here? You shouldn't be in here without Alec. And Ellen says, I'll have you know that he sent me here to fetch his phone for him. And I don't appreciate that assumptive tone. And in her mind, she's thinking, I hope she believes that. She looks gullible, but I have the feeling we all underestimate her because of that stupid, cute face. And Sarah's thinking, 90% insulting, 10% flattering. Coming from Ellen, that's a good ratio. Mission Gummy Bears, you'll be back at 20? Alright, we'll still be here. Seriously, y'all? Okay, so time for a little fangirling. So, of course, I played the royal finale, chapter 1 yesterday. Saw the new hair for the queen, or just the new hair in general, because I know anybody can use it. But chef's kiss, it's fantastic. Love the new locks, beautiful. Yeah, the free with every heartbeat locks are so good, right? Yes, I am super duper happy with the changes that we've seen so far. So, super duper props, big props for that. Compliments to the artistes. My queen was looking fabulous yesterday. Also, the locks in SB exquisite, right? Yeah, I was super happy to see all that. So, just wanted to point that out and let people know that the new hairs are in and they're looking good, looking quite sharp. Okay. Let's see. Good ratio. Sarah says, okay, sure. So where is Alec? And Ella says, when I saw him last, he was in the studio, but I've been looking for his phone for a while. He might have moved. Sarah's like, well, that's kind of weird. I don't remember seeing you in the studio at all, ever since the power went out. And Ellen's thinking, damn, Sarah actually does have a talent for sussing out the truth, doesn't she? She's thinking, Ellen continues to think, oh, well, even if she suspects, she can't prove anything. I'm pretty sure I didn't leave any evidence in the basement. And you force your face to remain composed and struggle to stay on topic. And Sarah's thinking, I wish I could ask her about the electricity now, but it looks so obvious. Sarah said, well, so did you try calling Alec's phone? And Ellen's thinking, damn, that's a good question. Oh! It's pouring out, you're gonna DoorDash? Well, make sure you order more than just gummy bears if you're gonna have somebody come out. Come out in the rain. And tip well if you can. Make sure you get him a tip. Ellen says, in spite of being Alec's clear favorite, I don't have his personal line, so no! And Sarah says, you know, Ellen. What are you really looking for? And Ellen says, I already told you. Are you calling me a liar, Sarah? And Sarah's like, well, what if I am? Something tells me you're not going to run to Alec about this disagreement. Sarah ain't calling you a truther. I know, right? Good one, Belber. And Ellen's thinking, the lights are back on. I've got to get out of here. And so Ellen says, well, would you look at that? I'll go let Alec know. Excuse me. And Sarah's like, but... And Ellen strides out of the office as people begin to circulate and chatter in the halls. And you start to follow her, but run into Jaime entering the room. And Jaime looks shocked, and he says, oh! I thought the boss man would be in here. Well, power's back on. Still have to check every level, but the building should be good. Jaime says, did something happen in here? You look a little upset. And Sarah says, I think something happened in here. I overheard some of Ellen's thoughts. She cut those wires. And Jaime says, holy crap, are you still going to tell Alec, right? And Sarah's like, well, I don't know if I can. I don't have any hard proof, and Alec knows Ellen and I have issues. In the end, he'd probably chalk it up to our rivalry, and I'd only end up losing credibility. Jaime says, I wouldn't give up just yet. You might not get hard evidence, but mind reading is still a powerful tool at your disposal here. getting caught probably rattled her good. She might be more inclined to let something slip. Sorry, I had to get some water there. Sarah says, she looks a little bit annoyed. She says, well, it would be nice to finally get the upper hand with Ellen Thompson. Tutorial, pursue Ellen to learn more about her devious plans and gain a reporter point for being tenacious. Heck yeah, we're going to chase after her. Are you kidding? And Sarah says, you're right. I'm going after her. And if this is the only tool I have, then I'm going to use it. Jaime says, well, good luck, hotshot. Just don't get hurt. And you head out into the hall and see Ellen heading for the elevator. And she tries the button, but the elevator doesn't appear to be operational yet. And she's thinking, damn, gotta get out of here before Sarah corners me with more questions. It's like, too late, we're already on our way. There we go. Sarah's thinking, oh yeah, I don't need to ask questions to get answers, Ellen. And Ellen veers from the elevator and ducks through a random room, and you follow behind her as quickly and quietly as you can. And Sarah's thinking, I'm going to follow her stealthily and try to read her mind. If she sees me, it might be embarrassing, but I don't care. Ellen slinks between the cameras and clothing rack, hurrying to another room, hurrying to another door at the other side of the room. And Ellen's thinking, looking through Alex's office was risky, but at least I found what I was looking for. And what were you looking for, ma'am? And suddenly, she glances over her shoulder to see if she's being followed. And garment bag. You dart behind the bulky garment bag on a clothing rack and are completely covered from view. Ellen's thoughts continue uninterrupted. And so she starts thinking, well, not like it's the first time I've stolen something from the office, and Alex still has no idea who keeps taking his sparkling waters. What? Why would she need to do that? Like, why are you taking this man's sparkling water? Taking his bubblies? What are you doing? Chase after her in her pants-wearing nonsense with that top. Oh. And Sarah's thinking, so that's why he's always muttering those fancy French words. Ellen stalks through the doorway and down a flight of back stairs, and you pursue, determined to hear as much as you can. On the other side of the stairwell is a backstage area littered with boxes and large trunks. Ellen strides toward the back exit, or the exit back out onto the main floor. And she's thinking, I just had to do it. I couldn't wait any longer after that Carmichael interview. I had to do something before it was too late. And Sarah's thinking, what? I made her look terrible during that interview. Is she trying to get me fired before I take her job? Ship of Fools, thank you so much for continuing to subscribe to the mothership. 40 months in a row. I appreciate you very much. Thank you. And at tier 3. Woohoo! Eric says, because sparkling water is good if it's the right brand. That's true. And says, Alex seems picky enough to get the good stuff. Yes, he does. Yes, you know how I love talking food in the channel. You know that. But talking drinks is okay too. Let's see. I don't know. I've only ever had this cherry flavored sparkling water and it tastes like spicy water? Oh no, that's not good. It shouldn't be spicy. I like the ices. It's called ice or something like that. Those are good. I tried the bubbly. I did not like it. Blueberry pomegranate sparkling water. Yum, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Ellen pauses to check that she's not being followed. And will hide behind a box. You crouch behind a box, but it's not big enough to hide your entire body. And Ellen's thinking, Sarah! You tracked Ellen through the studio, but she caught you. Wah wah. As Ellen crosses the room, you see a piece of paper flutter onto the ground behind her. Uh-oh. Whoops. I hit the button on accident. Sorry, y'all. And you rush forward and scoop it up, scanning the document as quickly as you can. And you see subheaders for Northbridge News and for Charlie Carmichael. Ellen says, Hey! That document is mine, and I'll be taking it back now. Thank you. Quick! Read! Accounts receivable. Before Ellen makes it across the room, you manage to catch a glimpse of a few more words. Northbridge News accounts receivable reflects balances from the first quarter of the current cycle, Sarah's thinking. Accounts receivable? Isn't that like a bill? Maybe this isn't about me after all. Ellen snatches the file out of your hand and points it at you. Didn't you hear me? I said give it back! And Sarah says, well, what the heck is that? What are you going to do with it? I'm going to keep my mouth shut, and so are you. Trust me. My job isn't the only one at risk if you tell Alec about this. And Ellen sticks the papers back into the file and hurries from the room, and you trail behind her, mind spinning. And Sarah says, but Ellen! And Tony's like, ah! You smack right into Tony, sending papers into a flurry around you both. And Sarah says, oh, shoot! Sorry, Tony! You stoop to help Tony gather his papers. That's alright, Sarah. No one crashed into me the whole time the lights were out, but still, it's fine. And Ellen disappears through a door at the end of the hall as you stand with Tony. And Sarah's like, and there she goes. Tony's gaze follows yours. Tony's like, huh? Yeah, I've never seen Ellen book it through the building that fast. What's going on between you two? And Sarah says, oh, nothing. Well, it's complicated. And as you pass the papers back to Tony, you notice that it's sheet music. Sarah says, well, what song is this? And Tony says, uh-oh, just a little something I'm working on. Sarah's like, I didn't know you were a composer? Musician? Tony's like, He looks kind of nervous, and he's like, well, I don't know if I'd call it music yet. I'm a violinist and a composer, but this piece is still a mess. And Sarah says, I always say that a mess is just a masterpiece in its early stages. Tony's like, yeah, you're right. I chip away at it whenever I can, like when the power mysteriously goes out. A lot of the equipment is still rebooted. It's still being rebooted, so I was going to squeeze in a few more minutes of practice. Besides, Alec left. The description for the locks in The Royal Romance were mildly lyrics from the Legally Blonde musical. If anyone's seen those, let's see, you'll likely know what I'm talking. Oh, the meme videos, you'll know what I'm talking about. Oh, okay. And Sarah says, really? I was looking for Alec, but I'm still having a hard time being upset that he's gone. Yeah! She seems to be like the go-to muse or something. It's kind of interesting, like everybody sees her as a muse. I have noticed that. Sarah says, well, so you bring your violin to work? How have I never noticed this before? Tony's like, well, first of all, her name is Belladonna, and she's not my violin. I'm her instrument. And if it makes you feel any better, seriously, no one notices, which is probably for the best. Tony's thinking, like Dad says, it's just a dumb dream. Better to stick with what you've already got. And Sarah says, Tony, it can be hard to share some interests. I can understand how a little solitude might be nice, especially if you're used to a lack of support. And Tony's like, well, I didn't say that. I get supported like you wouldn't believe. It's annoying, actually. Hey, did you know there's even a little recording studio on the 4th floor that nobody uses anymore, except me? The acoustics in there are amazing. And Sarah says, oh yeah? The one we used to have for jingles? I totally forgot about that. Tony's like, well, do you want to come check it out with me? Let me get your opinion on the song. And Sarah's like, you want to play for me? Just me? I'm really moved, Tony. I didn't even know. And she's thinking that we were really becoming that close as friends. That you were a violinist. And Tony says, yup, that's been the main arc of this conversation. Nailed it. So will you come with me? Let's see. Let Tony play for you and become better friends. You can inspire him to follow his dreams in the future. Oh. You know what? Let's hear it. Let's go. It's not like I don't have the diamonds to spend. So, we go up to the 4th floor, and together, you and Tony stroll to the recording studio, and he gets into the booth while you stay at the controls talking through a small mic. And Sarah says, alright, let's hear it. I'm prepared to be amazed. And Tony pops open his case with a proud smile, presenting his violin with relish. And Tony says, Sarah, meet Belladonna, my one true love. And Sarah says, aw, Tony, I can't wait to hear her sing. And he brings the violin beneath his chin and braces the bow on the strings, and then hesitates and drops the bow again. And Tony looks a little sad, and he says, I don't know, Sarah. And he's thinking, I'm not supposed to be bringing my violin to work anymore. Dad and I just talked about it. And Sarah says, please, I really want to hear you play. You look so happy holding Belladonna, just like I am when I'm reporting. And even though my dad doesn't really get how important it is to me. And a relieved smile breaks across Tony's face. And he says, yeah, man, my dad doesn't understand either. He thinks that I should pick up side gigs for other shows instead of practicing in all my free time. And then he's thinking, maybe then you can move out of the house. You're almost 30. And Sarah says, but, has he ever heard you play? And Tony says, lots of times. He says I have talent too. That doesn't make classical music any easier to crack your way into. Filming shows, however, tons of opportunity. Pays well. And Sarah says, but what about you? What about what you want? Oh, Eric, you answered your own question about Tony living at home. Yeah, you answered your own question on that. You nailed it. Tony says, well, yeah, I know. My dad's not wrong, but that doesn't change this stupid burning feeling in my gut. I want to write heartbreaking symphonies about how I'm starving as a musician, you know? And Sarah says, yeah, I'm so glad I was firm with my dad. I'll bet yours doesn't understand how badly you want this. And Tony says, exactly. He wanted to be a public accountant. But I'm just not about that life. And Sarah says, and don't you deserve all the happiness he has, even if it doesn't come with the same guarantees? And Tony says, art comes with different guarantees. And Sarah says, I like that. You know you'll never be bored. You know every gig is a surprise and an adventure. And Tony says, and a paycheck. And Sarah says, hey, what's getting paid? If you're not on commission, you have total artistic freedom. Tony says, mind blown. I might be even happier making music for free than someone who's paid to make it on spec. And Sarah says, so play for me, Tony. I don't think I've ever, seen you this passionate. I'm excited. And you let out a flurry of applause, rather, as he beams and brings the violin beneath his chin again. And we listen to the violins play. The piece starts slowly, but soon you find yourself spellbound. You've never seen him look like this before, and his hair falls into his eyes and sweat beads on his brow as he saws away at the strings. And finally, he pauses and looks to you. Tony says, well? And you burst into applause. And Sarah says, Tony, that was amazing! You have to do something with it! You have to hear it the way I do! And Tony says, well, thank you, Sarah. It's like Belladonna has a mind of her own. I feel like she's the one playing me. Let's show her, baby. And Sarah says, well, can I hit record in here? You'd better say no if you don't want me to press this button. I don't want to miss any more of this. And Tony says, now that I know someone wants one, I guess I'll have to make it. I almost want to let you title it. And Sarah says, don't be silly. Belladonna clearly outranks me here. What do you think she'd call your CD? And Tony says, the fury of a queen unbound and scorn in a wintry hell of frozen desires. That is a very long title. And Sarah says, wow, what about just unbound? Tony says, like I said before, I don't make the rules. Belladonna speaks through me. And Sarah says, well, the fury of a queen unbound and scorned in a wintry hell of frozen desires it is, then. I'm going to burn some copies while we're in here for everybody in the studio, too. And Tony's like, what? And Sarah says, just trust me, Tony, this is great stuff. Sounds like a Fall Out Boy title. Yes, they do go along with the titles. As Tony's music draws to a close, you burst into a fresh round of applause. Bellissimo, bellissimo, Sarah shouts. And Tony sighs with a smile as he tenderly replaces Belladonna in her case. And Tony says, grazie. And Sarah says, Tony, you need to keep going. Now that I've heard you, I know you can't stop here. You need to play shows. And Tony says, well, I guess I do have all weekend to myself, and seen some ads for live music at nice restaurants. And Sarah says, exactly! If you play that for them, they'd be crazy to suggest you change a single note. And you scoop up your stack of freshly burned CDs as Tony hoists his violin case, and you step together into the hall. June, Maggie, and Aubrey are chatting amongst themselves near the door. And June says, hey, there you two are. We were up here looking for Alec. I think he yelled at us all to keep working and then totally left. And Maggie's like, not that anyone's complaining. And Aubrey says, I doubt you're going to find him in the old recording studio, though. And Sarah says, well, we were in there to make these. They're singles of Tony's first violin solo. June says, wow, Tony? Seriously? How come you never told me about this? And Tony says, well, I wanted it to be a surprise that I was saving for my deathbed. And he looks at you with a twinkle in his eyes. And Tony says, but I'm glad that Sarah convinced me to open up about this. Do you want a CD? It's called The Fury of a Queen Unbound and Scorned in a Wintry Hell of Frozen Desires. And Maggie says, it sounds amazing. I'll take two. My parents love classical music. Aubrey says, yeah, let me get one of those bad boys. Thanks, Tony. Tony says, hey, don't thank me. These CDs are all Sarah's doing. And Sarah says, well, you're more than welcome. The distant sound of Alec yelling draws your attention toward the door to the main set. As much as I hate to say it, we should probably head back to the set now. Party's over. And you hurry to Tony and Aubrey, June, and Maggie back into the studio. And Alec is looking a little bit annoyed. And he says, I've had it up to here with you people. First, I come back to find everyone freaking relaxing. And now, whose idea were these disgusting candles? This place reeks and it's a fire hazard. And Sarah says, they were your... And Aubrey's like, shh. Jaime taps on the door and steps into the room carrying a clipboard. And Jaime says, Mr. Burdock, I've got your invoice all wrapped up. You just need a little rewiring, and it was easy work. And Alec's like, well, what's the invoice for then? And Jaime says, my time and expertise. Are you aware how dangerous cut wires can be? And Aubrey says, cut wires? Alec snatches the clipboard from Jaime, glances down, and turns a slight red. And Alec says, Sarah, what kind of friend charges this much? I thought he was supposed to be helping us out. And Sarah says, well, he is. The power's back on and everyone's safe. And Jaime says, being a friend doesn't mean working for free. This is a weekday. I postpone other paying jobs to come here on no notice. And Sarah says, well, this isn't my studio. It's yours. You two aren't friends. And Alec says, excuse us, Sarah. Grown-ups are having a discussion right now. And Jaime says, hey, don't talk to her like that. Alec, don't tell me how to run my set. I'll talk to my employees however I see fit. And Sarah says, Jaime, don't. It's fine. Mr. Burdock insults everyone all the time. Please, for me, let it go. And Jaime says, or Jaime's thinking, well, if you're sure, Sarah, just remember that men like him thrive off of submission. And he says out loud, of course, you're right. This is a place of business, and we're all mature adults. We can relax and handle this with inside voices. And Sarah says, Jaime, if you could read my thoughts right now, you'd know how much I adore you for listening to me. And Alex says, aw, what a touching moment. I almost forgot we weren't on a children's television show. And Alex scratches out a quick check and shoves it against Jaime's chest, scoffing. Alex says, there, now get off my set. And Jaime says, with pleasure. He's thinking, I may not have telepathy, but the regular cell phone works just fine for me. Talking about if boss gives us any trouble. Jaime strolls from the studio, pleasantly waving goodbye to a few people as he leaves. And Alec whirls on you. And Alex says, what the hell was that, Gibson? That grifter completely blindsided me. And Sarah says, grifter? Alec is horrible, yes. Alex says, well, if your boyfriend is going to come help us out of a jam, the work should be free. If I was going to pay that much, I would have hired a professional. Thank you. And he struck me as very professional, Mr. Burdock. And he just saved your set. So you should decide what you want, Mr. Burdock. A job done fast, well, or cheap, because nothing is all three. And Aubrey's thinking, finally, someone's reminding Alec how to be human. Nice. And Alec smiles. Hey, I just had an idea for a special punishment, Ms. Gibson, just for you. And Sarah says, oh my god, you're not demoting me, are you? And Aubrey is thinking, he'd better not, or I'm going to have a talk with Human Resources. And Alex says, oh no, I'm not demoting you yet. But after your next assignment, you're going to wish you'd never set foot in this studio. And that was the end of Chapter 7. I'm just going to take a break for just a couple minutes, and then we will continue with Chapter 8. Hit that BRB, and I'll be right back. Alright, and we're back. Hit my mobile button. There we go. What's up, everybody? Alright. Well, saw that Choices put up a tweet about tomorrow there's going to be an AMA and Ask Maxwell Anything on Instagram. So it looks like Maxwell is going to be doing a Insta takeover along with the community team. It says, and they'll be choosing questions to answer through our story. So get your questions ready. They're going to start about 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. That's 4:30 for you good folks over on the East Coast. I retweeted that for everybody. But if you're on Insta and stuff, make sure that you're following them. It's Choices Game at Choices Game on Instagram. All right. Chapter 8 is called Bird Brained. Oh my gosh! I wonder with that title if we're going to end up like getting the option to adopt a bird. You already know that's not happening. I don't like birds. Alex sees at you, his face growing red while the rest of the office looks on. And Sarah says, I get the feeling I'm not going to actually love this next assignment. Read the room, Gibson. You're gonna hate it. We've got a tip about 10 minutes ago that there's been some kind of major accident at Old Quarter. You'll be covering it alone. And Sarah's looking shocked. She's like, are you kidding me? How am I supposed to report on it if I don't even have a camera person? And Aubrey steps in and he says, Alec, you can't do this. We don't know what kind of accident it is, and you could be putting Sarah in serious danger. And Alec just grins and he's like, hey, good news, Gibson. Aubrey just volunteered to be your cameraman. Now get your equipment and head downtown. And then Alec frowns a little bit. He's looking a bit smug. And he's like, if you don't come back with something good, don't bother coming back at all. Ever. Before anyone can respond, he storms off. And you and Aubrey turn to each other. And Sarah says, Aubrey, thanks for having my back. Sorry I got you wrapped up in this. Aubrey's like, hey, there was no way I was going to leave you on your own. I'd do the same thing again. Alec is an HR investigation waiting to happen. Yeah, big time. And Sarah says, well, I guess we should grab what we need and get out of here. And Aubrey's like, wait, you're actually gonna go? Sarah, you don't have to put yourself at risk for one little story. Sarah says, Sarah's looking very determined. She says, I've been afraid of taking risks all my life. But here's the thing. The greater the risk, the greater the reward. And if Alec wants to take his best shot at me, I'm going to turn his hating into ratings. That's got to be a hashtag. Hatings into ratings. It's like, oh man, that's great. And Aubrey says, I can't believe I'm talking to the same Sarah who was worried she'd stumble at her first interview. Sarah says, but I didn't stumble. I tackled. And Aubrey says, I like seeing this side of you, Sarah. Let's go and grab our gear and get out of here. You're a little surprised when Aubrey ducks into the wardrobe. And Sarah says, what gear do they have in here? And Aubrey says, well, you clearly haven't been out in the field yet. You're going to want to change before we go. And Sarah says, well, what's wrong with what I'm wearing now? And Aubrey says, well, nothing. It's gorgeous, and that's the issue. We don't know what kind of story we're walking into. I'd hate to see your nice outfit get messed up. And I don't want you to get slowed down by heels and stiff clothes. I'm grabbing sneakers personally. Uh-oh. Do I need to clear the chat? Okay. I oopsed in Eric's last stream. I was like, oh well. When you type the stuff that you don't want, you know? And Sarah says, oof, yeah, fair point. I could barely run in gym shoes, let alone heels. And you sift through the hangers and find something you think might work. Sarah's thinking, okay, cute and flexible. I think this will fit the bill. Tutorial. Wearing this outfit will unlock a bonus scene and improve your reporter score. It's a really cute outfit. It's called Fieldwork Fashionista. It says report from the streets in urban chic. It's a pair of jeans and a cute belt. Looks like a kind of a brownish, light brown sweater with a striped shirt and a necklace. It's really cute. She's wearing a bracelet. It looks like it's gold with some type of charm on it. I like it. You know what? We don't know what we're going to get into on this. Oh, kitten on the keyboard? Haha. Yeah, I know all about that life. We're going to buy it. We'll buy the outfit. It's cute. And Sarah says, perfect. Easier to move in than heels, but way more stylish than a hazmat suit. The best of both worlds. And Aubrey says, yeah, you're looking sharp. If nothing else, I think your outfit alone can make national news. And Sarah says, Alec can try to punish me with tough assignments, but he can't take away my sense of style. And the two of you head out, and before long, you're driving downtown in a news van. You and Aubrey arrive downtown to find an entire street blocked off by police barricades, and a growing crowd of onlookers stands by nervously. A police officer leans against the barrier, eating a bag of sunflower seeds, and you flash your press badge. Sarah says, Sarah Gibson, Northbridge News. Is press allowed past the barrier? The officer's eyes go wide and he stands a little straighter. It's an officer. He's wearing his uniform. He has a badge, navy blue shirt, and a black tie. And he says, the Sarah Gibson? Oh, jeez. I didn't know they were sending actual celebrities to cover this. Can I just say how much I enjoyed your interview with Charlie Carmichael the other week? I feel like I understand him so much better now. And Sarah says, well, thanks. I'm glad I could shine a little light on the issues. And the officer says, well, I can't wait to see what you do with this story. You're free to go on through. Aubrey says, well, can you tell us anything about what's happening? And the officer says, no clue, I'm just on perimeter duty. Gas leak, sewage overflow, alien invasion. Your guess is as good as mine. All I know is that I'm waiting on backup, and you're the first journalist who have actually tried to access the scene. And Sarah says, well, do you think it's dangerous? Like, should we not investigate? Officer says, well, I mean, I wasn't told not to let the press through. And he's thinking, but I'm not going to rescue you from angry aliens, that's for sure. And Aubrey says, Sarah, are you sure you want to do this? And Sarah says, well, honestly, this is my job. And if there's a story that the public needs to know about, I have an obligation to cover it. Did Woodward and Bernstein back down because reporting on Watergate was dangerous? Aubrey says, well, all right, Woodward, lead the way to explosive headlines. The officer moves the barricade aside. You and Aubrey pass through, making your way down the street. Soon, you're out of sight from the barriers. Aubrey scans the scene with his camera, but there's no sign of disturbance. Sarah looks a little worried. She says, "This is creepy. There's no one here, and we have no idea what we're looking for." Aubrey looks a little worried too, and he says, "I get the weirdest feeling that we're being watched." Suddenly, a growl echoes from a nearby alley. You and Aubrey freeze in place. And Sarah, gets freaked out, and she's like, "What was that?" And Aubrey says, "I think that's our story." And he aims the camera at the alleyway, and you tightly grip the mic, and the growling gets louder, and a figure emerges. Oh, no! It's a big ostrich! I was wondering when that was gonna come. I was wondering when that was gonna happen. Eh! I'd be screaming and running. No way. No way. Funny ostrich story. So, long time ago. It's an emu. It's an emu, but I have an ostrich story. So, my parents, this is when I was a kid, my parents had taken my brothers and I to this place in California. It's not there anymore, but it was called Lion Country Safari, and it was one of those places that you can drive through and see all the animals. And my brothers and I, we were sitting in the back of the station wagon. That's how long ago this was, because, I don't even think they make station wagons anymore. And we had some food in the back with us. Well, we were sticking the food out of the window, and my parents didn't realize that was what we were doing in the back. So we're sticking food out of the window, and the ostriches are coming up to the car, and we're pulling the food back into the car. And so all of a sudden they started knocking into the car and stuff, and my dad's starting to speed up, so they start speeding up, and they're running really fast next to the car. My parents are like, "What in the heck is going on? Why are they chasing us? This doesn't make any sense." And so my brothers and I are in the back of the car, and we're just like, "Oh, I don't know. I guess they're just, they're just mean or something." Totally blamed it on the birds. Didn't tell them that we was messing around with them and tossing food out the back. But anyway, on the front cover of the story is our main character with 4 emus on the front. And so now we have come to the point where the emus have made their appearance here in the story. So the emu goes, "Gah?" And Sarah says, "Wait, are you kidding me? Downtown Northbridge got shut down because there was an emu on the loose?" And the emu makes a noise back at Sarah. And suddenly, more emus emerge from other side streets and alleyways. And before long, a whole flock surrounds you. And the emu is thinking, "Seeds? Fruits? Nuts? Seeds?" And Sarah says, "Aubrey, are you getting this?" And Aubrey says, "Boy, am I ever." And the emu is like, "Bwah!" And thinks, "Will the small featherless birds give us seeds?" And you clear your throat and raise the mic to your lips, attempting to step out of range of one emu who is trying to chew on your hair. And Sarah looks at the camera and says, "Sarah Gibson, reporting from a blocked-off section of downtown Northbridge, which appears to have been overrun with emus. And we're not yet sure how the birds got here, but Northbridge News is investigating. More reports to follow as we..." And then a voice says, "Hey, what are you doing?" And a man emerges from one of the side streets and runs toward you. His face is crinkled in anger, and he's wearing a vest made from what appears to be emu feathers. It's a bald man. He's got a very serious scowl on his face, and he's wearing a vest that looks like it's kind of fuzzy, but I'm gonna guess it's the feathers. And he says, "Leave my people alone! Haven't they suffered enough already?" And Sarah says, "Your people? What do you mean?" "I am the founder of PETE, aka People for the Ethical Treatment of Emus. I'm here to rescue these poor, mistreated creatures." And Sarah says, "I see. Could you tell me your name, sir?" "Pete." "Okay, Pete. what's the story? Actually, okay, so there's three options. One says, what's the story with Pete, the organization? Or, why are emus so special to you? And are you responsible for this? So we're going to go with, why are the emus special to you? And Pete says, I wouldn't expect you to understand. And Sarah says, well, okay, if... And Pete says, but I'll tell you anyway. It all started when I was 13. My family was vacationing in Australia, and we were bushwalking through the Flinders Ranges in the southern outback, and I somehow got separated from the rest of the group. And I spent 3 days wandering through the desert, surviving on only my wits and an economy-sized bag of trail mix that I had in my backpack. Sarah says, oh my gosh, that must have been terrifying. And Pete's smiling at her and he says, yes, it was, and yet it led to an experience that would change my life forever. And on the third day, I finally collapsed and passed out from sheer exhaustion. But when I came to, a flock of emus were pulling my trail mix from my backpack, trying to feed and revive me. I knew then that they were special. And Sarah says, are you sure that they weren't trying to eat the trail mix themselves? And Pete just, kind of frowns on that, and he's like, is she mad? And says, no, of course not. I knew you wouldn't understand. And Sarah says, well, okay, Pete. Are you responsible for this? Pete's sprite is always so weird. Agreed. You're right. If by this you mean the greatest emu liberation effort since the Great Adelaide Zoo breakout of 1985, then yes, I am responsible. I got wind that a flock of emus were being kept at a local wildlife reserve over in Hartfeld, and I had to intervene. And Sarah says, okay, so this was a gesture of eco-activism. Were there issues with how the reserve was treating them? And Pete says, oh, were there ever? Sure, the reserve gave the emus plenty of food, space, medical attention, and freedom. And Sarah says, that all sounds pretty good, actually. I'm not seeing the issue. Pete says, the issue was that they were treating the emus as if they're simple animals instead of acknowledging their personhood. So I disguised myself as an emu, snuck into the enclosure where they were being kept, and led them here. And Sarah says, well, to the middle of a busy metropolitan city? Why? It sounds like they were better off at the reserve. Pete says, no! Emus aren't meant to be kept behind fences. They should be driving cars, grabbing coffee, taking selfies. Oh, Pete. What in the world are you talking about, friend? And Sarah says, I agree with the first part of that statement, and then you lost me. Okay, Pete, so what's the story with Pete, P-E-T-E? I founded Pete to raise awareness for and protect the world's most deeply misunderstood species, the emu. My organization tracks shipments of emus and intervenes, and then integrates them back into human society. And Sarah says, like as pets? Pete says, no! Emus far surpass us in emotional complexity. If anything, they should be the ones in control. One second. Pete says, they're not just big, dumb birds from the desert. They have the potential to change the world as we know it. And he feels fine. I'm gonna bring that down just a little bit. Feels like I'm blowing up the mic here. Sarah says, okay, and do the other members of Pete share your views? Pete says, I'm actually the only member. No one else truly cares for the emus like I do. And Sarah says, yeah, that's what I thought. And Aubrey says, would you say you're the emusaya? Oh, that's good. The emusaya. Pete says, hey, is your cameraman supposed to talk? What kind of 2-bit operation is this? Sarah says the guy who runs a one-person organization. Pete says, listen, I'm not here to let the media twist my story around for some clickbait. I'm here to be among my feathered friends. And he turns away from you and reaches over to stroke the neck of a nearby emu. And the emu says, what? And the emu's thinking, not the neck feathers I just groomed. The emu lets out a shrill scream and kicks Pete in the groin. And Pete shouts, brother, why? As he crumples to the ground in agony, the emu runs, knocking into other emus and startling them. And before you know it, the whole flock of emus is running around in a wild frenzy. And Aubrey pulls you to the edge of the street. Aubrey says, this is getting out of control. We need to leave. And the emu makes a louder noise. Wah! Sarah says, but how do we get out of here? There are emus everywhere. And Aubrey says, I think we're just going to have to make a run for it and hope for the best. Let's aim for the emu that looks the least likely to kill us. And you survey the mess of emus, trying to determine which one seems the friendliest. The one in green. You creep up to the emu, and she perks up as you approach. Ha! And the emu is thinking, that woman looks just like my old zookeeper. I wonder if she'll feed me watermelon too. The emu nuzzles your shoulder affectionately, and you turn to Aubrey with a grin. And Sarah says, okay, I know we're in the middle of a potentially deadly stampede, but this is super cute. Please tell me you're getting this. And Aubrey says, don't worry, the camera's still rolling. You scratch the emu's neck and then slip past her to a clear section of street. Several emus lumber onto the street ahead of you, locking onto you and Aubrey with their eyes. And one of the emus makes a screaming noise, and Aubrey is like, is it just me, or are their eyes cutting right through us? And you rack your brain for how to win them over when inspiration strikes, and you tug your necklace over your head, whipping it back and forth in the air. And the emu's like, brah? And Sarah says, they're not looking at us anymore. And the emu, the nice one, thinks, shiny. And Aubrey says, yeah, I think they like it. Keep going and let's get the heck out of this traffic jam. You and Aubrey slip past the emus, who are dazzled by your bright beads in the sunlight. And Aubrey says, now the world knows that you can charm an emu. Sarah says, technically I can charm anything, but I'm glad you got that, cameraman. Our reporter score has increased, and you and Aubrey hurry down the street as fast as you can, the herd of emus still right behind you. Finally, out of breath, you reach the police barricade, and the crowd gasps as the flock of emus comes into view. And the officer says, what the? They're coming right for us! And Aubrey says, we need to stop them. They're gonna crash through the barricades. And the angry emu is thinking, seeds! And you realize that the officer is still holding the bag of sunflower seeds you saw him eating earlier. And Sarah says, sir, give me your sunflower seeds! And it is a pack of sunflower seeds, and the caption says, sorry, this is for the greater good. Brandishing the bag, you move away from the crowd, calling out to the emus, and they pause and stare in your direction. And Sarah shouts, hey! Over here, you big lugs! I've got seeds for you! And the emu is thinking, seeds? Seeds! Is another emu. And Sarah says, uh-oh. The emus close in around you, and Aubrey ducks into a building off to your left, and the circle of emus is too tight to follow. The emus advance, and your back is pressed against the wall of the building. There's nowhere to run as the emus close in. And Sarah shouts, no! I can't die like this! It's such a stupid way to go! And Aubrey shouts, Sarah, get up here! Or Sarah, up here, grab my hand! And you glance up and realize that Aubrey is hanging off the fire escape right above you. And you toss the bag of seeds at the oncoming emus jump, grabbing Aubrey's hand. And he hoists you up just as the emus reach the spot where you were standing moments ago and begin tearing into the bag. And you slump against the railing of the fire escape. And emu, the happier emu, looks a little sated, and he says, "Seeds?" And Sarah's like, "Whew, that was close." Aubrey says, "Hey, I wasn't about to let you get Mufasa'd by a flock of giant birds. Aside from neither of us being killed or maimed, I've got good news. I managed to catch most of this adventure on camera." And Sarah says, "You were filming through all of that? You really are dedicated to this job." And Aubrey says, "Hey, I'm not the one who just risked my life to stop a bird stampede. If you don't go viral, I'll eat my camera card." And he hefts the camera back onto his shoulder, and he aims it at you. And Aubrey says, "Any closing remarks for the folks at home?" And Sarah says, "I'm Sarah Gibson, and today has truly been an emotional roller coaster for the city of Northbridge." Eventually, the rangers from the wildlife reserve show up to herd the emus into their truck, and the chaos finally ends. You and Aubrey return to the street level. You watch Pete pass by in handcuffs as an officer escorts him into the back of a police car. And Pete looks sad. "All I wanted was to free the emus from their prison." And the officer says, "Buddy, you'd better focus on freeing yourself from prison." And you turn to Aubrey. And Sarah says, "Wow." And she has two options. "I can't believe this is my job," or "Alec is going to lose his mind." I'm going to go with "this is my job." She says, "I don't think I could ever predicted an incident like this happening in in 1,000 years. And Aubrey says, "Well, that's why it's news, Sarah. Hey, maybe to cap things off, we could do a quick interview with the park rangers. It looks like they've got things under control now." And you approach one of the rangers, who's standing by the truck of emus. And Sarah says, "Excuse me, sir? Sarah Gibson, Northbridge News. I was wondering if you'd care to comment on today's events." And a ranger in a blue shirt, and he has a beard and scruffy hair. He looks a little sad. He says, "It's been a mess, that's for sure. We're still trying to get everything back in order. And now, we can't find one of our emus. She must have gotten separated from the herd." And Sarah says, "Oh no, will you be able to track her down?" And the ranger says, "Hopefully, but I'm worried that something bad might happen first. A big city isn't a good place for a lone emu." And behind the ranger, some of the emus droop their heads sadly. And one of the emus is thinking, "Where's Emmy? I hope she comes back soon." Let's see, tutorial. Help find Emmy to earn reporter points and get an exclusive scene with some friendly emus. You know what? Let's do it. I want to see. "I can help you look. I was in the area where the flock broke up. I can retrace my steps and see if she's still somewhere nearby." And the ranger says, "You do that? I appreciate it. I'm tied up getting these birds settled." Sarah says, "No problem. We'll do our best." You and Aubrey make your way back to the fountain where you met Pete. Once you make it back to the square fountain, you begin looking for Emmy. And Aubrey pans the camera around the scenery. Sarah says, Whoops. Uh-oh. I hit that too fast. Aubrey says, "Too bad. We can't just post up some flyers or wait for the pound to call us." "I used to take care of the stray cat near my complex. A real wanderer. You couldn't just pin down. The pound had me on speed dial to come get him." And Sarah says, "I didn't know you were a cat person. That makes so much sense now. You're sophisticated, indoorsy." And Aubrey says, "Hey, I like my fun, well-ventilated, and insect-free. Nothing wrong with that." And yeah, Catawak, I like that, Catawak, was an experience. I got him shots, fed him, but he found ways out of my apartment even I didn't know existed. And Sarah says, Catawak? Like Jack Catawak? And Aubrey says, always on the road. And how about you? A dog person, cat person, allergies? And of course, everybody knows I'm a cat person. Oh, hold on, guys. I gotta take this call real quick. Hold on. Alright. Got a call from my doctor's office, so I had to hurry up and take that real quick. Okay, so, says they're demanding, they're complex, and they're fickle. And I don't like anything too easy, so I like cats. And Aubrey says, I get that. Cats don't need humans. So you know that when, or if, they're nice, they really mean it. And Sarah says, exactly. A cat is never going to fake the funk. They're so fluffy. And Aubrey says, I can see why Alec gave you the story about Jinx 99. Sarah says, I actually ended up adopting that cat. I'll show you some pictures later. She's really something else. And Aubrey says, why am I not surprised? And Sarah says, and she can walk on stilts. How can I say no? And Aubrey says, please tell me you don't still make her do that. And Sarah says, nah. Now all the videos I post of her involve her laying around while I do her monologue in a voiceover. Kind of like I'm doing right now. And Aubrey says, okay, forget the pictures. The videos are what I need to see. And Sarah says, well, maybe later, if you're good. Aubrey says, so how are we ever going to find this bird? There's not exactly a feather trail we can follow. And you close your eyes listening for anything that might give you a hint. And a voice is thinking out loud, where is everybody? I'm so scared. And Sarah says, Aubrey, I think I heard something. She's got to be nearby. Excuse me. So, you scan the park and catching a glimpse of movement behind one of the trees. And it's a sad emu. And it's Emmy! And you creep closer and she bristles slightly. And Emmy makes a noise, squawk! And she's thinking, who are those people? Are they going to eat me? Are they just large goannas in disguise? And Aubrey says, she looks pretty spooked. How do we get her to trust us? And Sarah says, we have to convince her we're not goannas. And Aubrey says, well, what's a goanna? And Sarah says, I think they're monitor lizards. We need to show her we're not lizard people. We could try... We have options, so it's either making emu noises, flapping around, or singing a friendship song. I don't know about that. Let's see. Flapping around. Yeah. Maybe we can convince her that we're just weird emus. And Aubrey says, okay, I like the creativity, but I don't think that's actually going to work. And Sarah says, well, we won't know until we try, will we? What have we got to lose? Our dignity? Aubrey says. And Sarah says, this is for the greater good, Aubrey. Put your pride aside and flap! And Aubrey sighs, but joins you in folding your arms into the impression of wings and strutting around in a bird-like manner. And Emmy perks up. And Emmy is thinking, wow, whatever they are, they look goofy. Do they even know how to hunt? I should be safe. And Emmy creeps closer and Aubrey's face brightens. Well, I'll be damned. She really thinks we're emus. And Sarah says, yeah, definitely. We're selling it. Emmy stops in front of you, sniffing a little, and then stretches her neck forward. And you cautiously run a hand over her feathers, giving her a little scratch. And Emmy is thinking, ooh, yes please, back of the neck, a little to the left. And Sarah says, hey, I think she likes me. Aubrey says, it's official, you can add wildlife tamer to your resume. And Sarah says, watch out, David Attenborough, I'm coming for your job. Emmy nuzzles your ear, her beak cool against your cheek. Sarah says, what's up, girl? You want cuddles? And Emmy is thinking, I like you. Play a game with me. Let's see. Let's play peekaboo. And you hold your hands up in front of your face. Where'd she go? Where's Sarah? And the bird is thinking, oh my god, she's dead! And Sarah says, peekaboo. And Emmy's like, oh, there she is. I could do that too. Emmy leans her head down into her wing and waits. And Sarah says, where's Emmy? Where is she? So Emmy pops out of her feathers and she's thinking, peekaboo. That's so dang cute. Peekaboo. Emmy seems to almost chuckle. This whole scene is just hysterical. I love this. And Sarah says, come on, girl. Now that we're friends, will you come with us? And Aubrey says, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if your phone starts going crazy with job offers from nature shows. And Sarah says, I'm only in if I can have Emmy as my co-anchor. And together, the three of you head back to where the other emus were. So after finally wrapping up, Aubrey drives you back to the studio, and you cradle the camera in your lap, and you watch the playback of his footage. Sorry, I had to move my headset. There we go. And Sarah says, Aubrey, this is incredible! How did you get all these amazing shots while we were running away from the emus? And he says, well, I figured that if the emus didn't kill me, Alec would if I came back with no usable footage. And Sarah says, still, this is good work. I'm seeing your passion for filmmaking shine through. And Aubrey says, you really think so? That means a lot, Sarah. Honestly, today was the most fun I've had at work in a long time. And he's thinking in his head, I wish I could do this kind of thing every day for my real job. And then he looks kind of sad. He frowns a little bit. And Sarah says, penny for your thoughts? And Aubrey says, I applied for 2 weeks of vacation time so I could attend a workshop through the Northbridge Film Festival, but it wasn't approved. And Sarah looks sad at Aubrey and says, aw, Aubrey, I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully you'll have more opportunities. And Aubrey says, yeah, maybe. I've just been hoping for that this could be a chance to, I don't know, do something different. Sometimes I feel like I'm spinning my wheels and overperforming in the wrong job while the one I want gets further away. Oh my gosh, Aubrey's story of my life. I think a lot of us can relate to that. And Sarah says, wow, I know that feeling. Every day, I'd rack my brain for the best writing to bring forward, and no one even knew it was me. I was faceless. And Aubrey says, well, but look at you now. You were like a hurricane just building up force to take us all by storm. And Sarah says, I mean, yeah, now, but it took me a long time to get to my feet and decide to fight for what I wanted. And Aubrey sighs and rolls his shoulders. As much as I hate to admit it, I'm afraid I don't have what it takes to leave Northbridge and pursue a career in film. And what if I fall flat on my face? Aubrey asks. It says at Northbridge News, I'm stable, and I know what I'm capable of, but sometimes it just feels like I'm letting my life pass me by, you know? Yes, I do know. And Sarah says, I know that feeling all too well. My mom passed away when I was in college, and so I dropped out. For a long time, I just drifted. And Aubrey says, oh, Sarah, I'm so sorry to hear that. That makes missing out on a workshop suddenly so insignificant. And Sarah says, I didn't mean for you to feel that way. I just wanted you to know that being lost is temporary, even when you're really lost. Sarah says, I made it back, and I made it back swinging, and it just takes time to find yourself. And when you do, you take off like a rocket. And Aubrey says, wow, Sarah, I always knew there was a lot of strength under that smile of yours. And Sarah says, everyone always did that. Everyone always did say that I had my mother's smile. And Aubrey says, I wish I could have known her. If she raised you, she must have been an amazing woman. And Sarah says, she wanted me to go for it. She knew about my dreams and she supported them 100%, no matter what. She encouraged me. And Sarah says, every time I do a broadcast, I almost feel like she's still with me, saying that she's proud. And Aubrey says, well, you just evaded an entire herd of emus. She's definitely proud. Up on the skyline, you noticed a hot air balloon floating on the wind and point. And Sarah says, my mom used to call these random acts of beauty. Just little things you see that suddenly makes everything better. And Aubrey's thinking, well, you must be a random act of beauty then. Somehow you make me feel a lot better. And then he says out loud, I don't know if you noticed all these billboards advertising hot air balloon rides, but the exit is coming up soon. Why don't we go? Sarah says, but what about work? And Aubrey says, well, we'll just say it took us a while to get out of the stampede. Sorry, Aubrey, we're not taking that ride. We're gonna go back to the office. You're a cute guy, but you're not the guy for me, Aubrey. Sorry. Sarah says, I appreciate the offer, but honestly, I'm just exhausted. Like, seriously, that's the most I've run since we had to do the pacer test in high school. And Aubrey says, Sarah, no! I totally forgotten about the pacer test up until now. The pain is flooding back. And Sarah says, sorry to remind you. Will it make you feel better if I promise we'll hit the hot air balloons next time? Or another time? And he says, sounds good to me, as long as they don't involve exercise in any way. Laughing, the two of you continue down the highway. Back at the studio, you and Aubrey enter Alec's office and to present him with your footage. And Alec is kind of frowning a bit. He's like, this ought to be good. Let's see it. As the tape plays, Alec's eyes glaze over and his grimace fades. And he looks shocked and he says, oh, that was a cool trick with your necklace to distract the emus, Gibson. And Sarah says, I know, keep watching. And as the tape plays, Alec grows more and more engrossed. And he says, wow, that stampede, the sunflower seeds, the fire escape fake out. This is more like a movie than a newscast. Viewers are going to lose their minds over this. We've got to get it on the air now. Sarah says, sure, we'll take it down to editing and let them know it's urgent. Alec gapes as your scene with Emmy plays. And Alec says, hey, wait, you helped rescue an emu? Our pet food sponsors are gonna love that. And Sarah says, well, anything else you'd like to say? And Alec smiles and he says, good job, Gibson. And he winces. Impressed. And he frowns. And Sarah says, yep, that's the word I was looking for. And Alec, whenever you have the time, I'd love to pitch the story I got from the campaign ball to you. Alex says, well, I 100% forgot about that after the drama with the electricity. Let's get legs on this segment, and then we'll talk. Sarah says, I'm looking forward to it. And you leave Alec's office with Aubrey, practically floating. I love this piece of music. Later that week, you meet Anna for lunch in a posh downtown restaurant, and the two of you chat merrily over your food. And Sarah says, and then he said, literally, that he was impressed. Alec Burdock, impressed! It must have been physically painful to say. And Anna says, I'm not surprised at all. As soon as I saw you outrunning those emus, my work ethic plummeted and I was glued to the TV. And Sarah says, yeah? Was it because I looked so cute? And Anna says, well, you always do, but I was worried you were going to get trampled. And Sarah says, well, maybe the brush with danger was all it was worth it in the end. And I can't believe how much this story has blown up. Anna says, I still can't believe your boss sent you out there on your own over a stupid disagreement about your friend's repair job. It's so unethical when employers take advantage of their staff like that. I'm going to talk to Charlie about more workers' rights policies. She looks very determined. And Sarah says, well, it's the job. I just have to deal with it. And then she looks sad. Anna looks sad. She says, no, you don't. That's exactly what he wants you to think. But no one should have to suffer because they think they're powerless. If you know that something is wrong, you have to speak up. And you suddenly think about Ellen snooping in Alex's office, and the realization that she was responsible for cutting the power in the office. Sarah frowns and she says, what if you know something's wrong, but you can't prove it? A troubled look ripples across Anna's face for just a second before she composes herself. Anna's thinking, I wish I knew the answer to that myself. Well, and she says out loud, well, I guess you just keep watching until they slip up. And before you can respond, Anna leans forward, grinning broadly. Hey, listen, it sounds like your week has been wild, and I want today to be relaxing and fun, so I had an idea. I overheard from one of Charlie's donors that there's a very exclusive rooftop pool party happening a few blocks from here today. And Sarah says, let me guess, you want us to try to talk our way in? And Sarah says, I can see why you think that, but I actually managed to score some passes as long as you're technically Pat Weathers, and I'm O.J. Gifford. Anna says, there's no one I'd rather invite along. What do you say? Are you up for a dip? Maybe another time, Anna. And Sarah says, my legs are still sore from outrunning the emus. I barely have the energy to walk back to my car, let alone swim. And Anna says, excuses, but I'll keep you posted if I manage to score tickets to any other cool events. I know you love Anna. I know. We did the poetry date with her last time. You just wanted to see her in her bathing suit. You didn't expect me to turn her down? Really? Why? After your rankings? Yeah? I did like her better in that other last week. Week before last. I did like her better. I did. I'm glad to know you've rectified that order. And it says, well, can I at least entice you to walk me back to the campaign office? We're actually not far away. Sarah says, sure, I wouldn't mind a peek into the hectic world of managing a political campaign. You and Anna finish your lunch and then head out together. You and Anna return to Carmichael's campaign headquarters and ride the elevator up. Well, it looks like we're still spending some time with her. We're just not going to the pool party. I know Eric wanted to see her in her bikini, but no, not today. Sarah says, thanks again for inviting me today. I'm really glad we got to hang out. And Anna says, well, it's not a bad date if I do say so myself. Sarah says, well, you definitely whet my appetite. Now you're gonna have to take me on more dates. Yes, Miss Anna, more dates. She says, I guess I will. Her lips curl into a smile and she holds your gaze for a long beat. And Sarah says, I can't believe you're going back to work. It's almost Friday night. Sarah. Anna says, "It's election season, baby. My job is never done. Thanks for walking me back, though." And Sarah says, "No problem. See, besides, I want to get a peek at Carmichael's Center of Operations." And Anna says, "Sure thing. I can give you the grand tour. There's actually a really great view of the..." And she cuts off as the elevator slides open. The elevator door slides open. And the office is trashed. There's cuts in Charlie's vote for Charlie Carmichael's for governor sign. The desk is all trashed and it looks ransacked. There's a broken chair. The window is broken in the office. And Anna shouts, "What the hell?" And you emerge from the elevator to find that the campaign office has been completely trashed. And Sarah says, "Oh my gosh, what happened in here?" Anna says, I think Charlie's made an enemy." And that was the end of chapter 8. So, I wonder who did that. I hope we find out. I'm sure we're going to find out. Let me take a look at something here. I'm just going to take a break for a couple minutes, and then we'll get into the next chapter. Alright, I'm back. I just wanted to take a look right quick to see how many chapters we had left. So we are on chapter 9 now. It's called Hold That Thought. We'll see how fast I get this chapter done. We'll push through this chapter and see what's up. I don't want to go too late or use up my voice too much because of what I got to do tomorrow. But we're definitely going to get through this chapter here. I will update my ranking tomorrow for sure. I will say this. Right now, Jaime is kind of edging out Anna. Just because he came to the rescue when the lights went out. And he didn't have to do that. He could have just said, "Nah, not doing it," and just not shown up. But he didn't. Our guy came to the rescue. Fumble for your cell phone and your purse as Anna gazes numbly around the ruined campaign office. And Sarah says, "Oh my god, Anna, I'm calling the police right now!" Eric is booing. "I'm sorry." That doesn't mean I don't like her. He came for the money. No, he didn't. He came for Sarah. Come on now. You know he came for Sarah. After confirming details, you hang up and turn back to her. And Anna says, I can't believe this. All I did was go out to lunch. I could have been here, Sarah. And who would do something like this? And she's thinking, deep down, didn't I think something like this might happen? And Sarah says, well, that's a good question. Do you have any ideas? And so Anna looks, she's still in shock and her mouth is just dropped open. And she says, I don't know. I mean, no, of course I don't, but Charlie doesn't tell me everything. Sarah says, I thought you were his right-hand woman in this campaign. And Anna says, well, right, for all I know, this is personal, though. And Sarah says, do you think it's personal? And Anna says, I don't know. What is wrong with people? And Sarah says, hey, we're gonna get whoever did this. I mean, look at this place. This wasn't a sophisticated maneuver. This was a crime of passion. The office is probably full of evidence, and between the police and Northbridge News, we'll find something. Thank you, Fishty. And Anna says, Anna's frowning, got a little pouty lip going, and she says, I hope so. You worked so hard, and in an hour or two, look what can happen. And Sarah says, I know it looks bad now, but it will get taken care of. Charlie can fix anything, right? And you pull her into a hug, and Anna leans her head on your shoulder. And Anna says, oh, Sarah, I'm glad you're here. I know these things happen in politics, but that doesn't make it any less scary. And you run your hands up and down her back with a sigh. And Sarah says, if anyone tries something while I'm here, I'll kick them into last week's broadcast. Is it okay with you if I call this into the studio? I know you're upset, but we can help you get to the bottom of this. And Anna looks really upset. She goes, oh, I want to go on the air live because I'm upset. We can't let whoever did this get away with it. As the backbone of Charlie's campaign, it's my job to show grace and resilience under fire. And Sarah says, I couldn't think of two better words to describe you right now. And a Northbridge News van pulls into the parking lot shortly after, and Tony climbs out, bringing his camera up to the office. And Tony says, holy moly, Luigi, look at this place! No wonder Alec wants us on the air as soon as possible. And Sarah says, I know, you've had a huge shock, Anna, so I understand if you need any breaks. And Anna just, looks really composed, and she says, no problem, I'm ready whenever you are. And you nod to Tony and launch into introducing the story. And Sarah says, good evening, Northbridge. I'm Sarah Gibson, coming to you live with a breaking story on the race for governor. This afternoon, campaign manager Anna Koichi has returned from a business meeting to find the Carmichael office in tatters. So, any ideas who might be to blame? Did Mr. Carmichael have enemies of which you were aware? Anyone you suspect could be capable of something like this? And Anna says, to be completely honest, we have gotten threats from various environmental groups. I always assumed it was just talk, but now that I see this heinous crime, I have to reconsider who may, or may not, be capable of something like this. And Sarah says, I had no idea. What kind of threats have you gotten? Anna still frowns at the camera and she says, oh, we're going to compost your campaign. Or, that kind of stuff. Every politician gets them. And Sarah says, has Mr. Carmichael done anything to earn the ire of these groups? And Anna's thinking, if he has, he hasn't told me, and why would he keep a secret from his campaign manager? And then she says out loud, I can vouch for the inclusivity of this campaign. We listen and care about the constituents, even whoever did this. And Sarah says, so do you notice anything in particular? As you glance around the room, do you see anything that stands out to you? And Anna says, the whole place is a wreck, so I can't be sure. I did notice that some of my recent memos are misplaced. And Sarah says, misplaced, not stolen? Anna says, the amount of destruction leads me to believe this is more of a display than a coordinated attack. And Sarah says, well, do you suspect this could be the work of a single person? And Anna frowns. She says, I hate to say this, but I doubt it. I wish I knew more, but that's just a gut feeling. And she's thinking, well, maybe I'll dig through Charlie's files again if I get another chance. And Sarah says, so, has anything strange happened lately? Maybe security noticed something unusual, or there have been loiterers? Alarms triggered? And Anna's thinking, well, there have been a lot of locals trying to get meetings with Charlie. I thought that was normal. And Anna says, I'm not sure, but I don't think so. This office does get a lot of traffic throughout the day, so we see a lot. And Sarah says, so it's possible that the perpetrator was in this office previously as a concerned citizen. And Anna says, well, definitely. People have set meetings with Charlie to discuss roads, events, money, everything. And she's thinking, as she frowns, someone probably had a problem with how much Charlie's finances are fluctuating this month. The elevator dings, and Ellen walks into the room. Ellen looks upset. You left without me, Tony? What the hell happened back there? And Sarah says, cut, Tony. What's going on? Ellen steps forward, pulls the mic out of your hand. And Ellen, looks really mad. And she's like, I got a tip about this major story, and apparently you used your connections to report it. That's what happened. And Sarah says, the tip was from me. You've got to be freaking kidding. And Tony says, well, yeah, Ellen, sorry. I thought this was Sarah's story. And Ellen says, I know the cameraman is your buddy, Miss Gibson. And the subject is your buddy too, but that doesn't make you head reporter. Sarah looks pretty upset. She says, I literally broke this story myself. Anna and I walked into this mess from our lunch date. And Ellen just kind of composes herself. She doesn't look so angry. And she says, okay. Well, all the major stories go through me. Now, why don't you grab me a coffee? Let's take it from the top, Tony. And Sarah says, grab you a coffee? And Tony's thinking, damn, that's messed up. And Anna's thinking, I don't want to interview with this woman. I remember her brand of gotcha journalism. And Ellen clears her throat. Good afternoon, Northbridge. This is Ellen Thompson, coming to you live from the ruined office of Charlie Carmichael. What does your candidate inspire? Why does your candidate inspire this degree of violence, Miss Koishi? Do you believe that the perpetrators may target you next? And Sarah says, Ellen, leave her alone. What are you trying to do, terrify her? She's been through enough for one day. And Ellen says, get off camera, Sarah. Your lunch date with Miss Koishi is over. Ellen clears her throat again. Miss Koishi, do you believe it's safe for Carmichael to continue the run for governor? And Anna looks shocked and says, what? Ellen says, do you think that the perpetrators might be watching right now? Is there anything you'd like to say to them? And Anna says, I've got to get out of here. I can't do this interview right now. I'm sorry, Sarah. Anna flees from the campaign office, leaving Ellen gaping after her. Sarah says, cut, Tony. Ellen is really mad, and she's like, you don't tell him when to cut. I do. And Sarah says, and who will you interview now? This was my story, and now it's over. Cut, Tony. And Tony's like, Ellen says, your story. Do you really think you're the best reporter for the job, considering your bias? And Sarah says, well, my bias? Are you talking about my friendship with Anna, the lunch date? And Tony says, guys. Ellen smiles at her and says, even better. Say that one more time directly into the camera. I was just on a lunch date with Carmichael's campaign manager. Don't you think that makes you look like you're doing and getting favors? Sarah says, I'm not getting favors. Ellen looks, a little bit upset. She says, you mean like tickets to posh events? Sarah says, well, I'm not giving favors. And Ellen says, oh, like glowing interviews? Face it, Sarah, you're in Carmichael's pocket. But you're biased too. And Ellen smiles and says, until someone other than a desperately jealous underling says it, it isn't true. And Ellen turns back toward the camera. It says, the wreckage of Carmichael's campaign office brings many questions to mind. Will he continue to run, or will he finally step down? Is this violent act a sign that Northbridge rejects him as a candidate? And Sarah's thinking she's going to walk all over me forever if I don't do something to stop it. So, our option is to take the mic back from Ellen, assert your dominance, and gain a reporter point. Oh, heck yeah, we're going to totally grab the mic. Are you kidding me? Setting your jaw, you take a deep breath and stride forward, snatching the mic back. Ellen looks shocked. She says, what the hell do you think you're doing? And Sarah says, I'm finishing the report that I started. But it looks like the interview you have to be, it looks like the interview will have to be with you. Sarah says, well, be honest. You're losing your edge, aren't you? And Ellen says, well, are you kidding? I'm still as sharp as an elbow. And Sarah says, you're stealing my leads to come misrepresent news with your own personal bias. You're not the Ellen you used to be. And Ellen looks shocked and she says, I'm a passionate woman. I have my own opinions. And Sarah says, I don't think that's it. I think something or someone rattled you. Was it me? And Sarah says, I've got other things on my mind, actually. This is just a job no one else can do. No one but me. And Tony says, guys, we're on the air right now. Sarah says, well, she's had this coming to her for a long time. And Ellen says, at least I'm consistent. Since your brush with death, you've become a completely different person. I think you need a CAT scan. This newbie gets struck by one bolt of lightning and suddenly thinks she's fire. And Sarah says, I know I'm fire. Did you know that you're an entitled diva, a terrible reporter, a textbook narcissist? Ooh, that's a tough one. That you're an entitled diva? And Ellen smiles, since the day I was born. Sarah says, follow up. Do you realize how much you fade when you stand next to someone ready to earn what she gets? Alec has bumped you off a feature so many times, you must feel like a whack-a-mole. Ooh, that's tough. Ellen says, that's just favoritism, pure and simple. Sarah says, well, Alec didn't even know who I was last month. I'm not his favorite. I'm just the best. And Ellen says, it's not my fault that Northbridge has developed a taste for fluffy, watered-down journalism. I mean, wait. Sarah says, final question. What are you going to do after this job? Any interviews lined up? And Ellen says, no comment. Sarah says, well, you're the one who implied that I'm somehow indebted to Charlie. Well, where is your bias coming from? Whose pocket are you in? Ellen says, I said no comment. Ellen turns and heads out of the office as suddenly as she arrived. And Tony smiles and says, whoa, Ellen's never left a hot mic before. A shudder just ran down my spine. He says, and we're still rolling. You jolt in front of the camera and clear your throat. Sarah says, to our viewers at home, that was unprofessional. On behalf of Northbridge News, to the concerned citizens of the city, I sincerely apologize for that mess. Please stay tuned for updates as the station will break continuing coverage as soon as it's available. Thank you. Tony says, and we're off the air. Finally. That was intense. Sarah says, yeah, but I'm glad. It's about time I straightened my shoulders and said, no, I won't get you a heckin' coffee. And you head down to the news van with Tony, wondering what everyone back at the set will say. As soon as you return to the studio, Alec calls you into his office. And Sarah's looking a little nervous as she says, great, just great. I knew Ellen was going to get me into trouble. And she says, "You wanted to see me, Mr. Burdock?" Alex smiles. "Yeah, I just caught the Sarah and Ellen show, and man, you ladies are like two cats in a bag, aren't you?" Now, on a personal level, I loved it. It was empowering yet delightfully petty. I don't even need my morning coffee anymore. I'm so amped. Yes, that news clip would go viral if it was real. You're right. You're right, Eric. And Alec frowns and he says, "But there are obviously issues we're going to have to deal with." Sarah says, "Well, what was I supposed to do? She just showed up." Alec rubs his forehead and frowns and he says, "Yeah, Ellen's a bit of a problem child, but I don't have any reason to discipline her." And so Sarah says, "Well, she could just do whatever she wants?" And Alec looks surprised. He says, "To be frank, you're right. She shouldn't have barged onto the scene. Hugely unprofessional. But there is a pecking order for story dibs, and she's at the top of the food chain. She knows it. If I had something solid to use to discipline her, I would, but she hasn't technically done anything wrong," Alec is thinking. And Sarah says, "The thing is, Ellen snooped in your office." "Ellen was in my office? You should have told me that immediately, Gibson." "I didn't think you'd believe me." "I do. Files are missing from my cabinet, and now I know who to blame." He looks mad, and he says, "And my ex-wife says I have no sense of right and wrong." "We'll show her, Gibson. We're men capable of firm disciplinary action." Wait, who's we? We're men capable of firm disciplinary action. And Sarah says, "We are?" And Alec pages Ellen to his office, and you stiffen, looking around. And Sarah says, "Well, you want to talk to her while I'm here? Isn't that awkward?" And Alex says, "You're the one with the complaint, aren't you? Woman up, Gibson." Ellen enters the office and measures you with her eyes before speaking to Alec. Ellen says, "Oh, is this about that embarrassing display down at Carmichael's campaign office?" And Alex says, "Well, Ellen, Sarah's filed a pretty serious complaint against you, Sarah." And so Sarah says, "As you already know, I came across you rifling through files in Mr. Burdock's office the day the power went out. I know that I don't have any hard evidence, but I couldn't let that stop me anymore." Ellen says, "Alec, it's not true. This is a witch hunt. Carmichael wants me off the set, and..." Alec holds up a hand. Alec looks upset and says, "I believe Ms. Gibson, Ellen. You've left me no choice. You're fired." And Ellen says, "What?" And Alec says, "That's right. You clean out your desk." Ellen says, but my segment at 8. Alex says, "You give any notes you've got to Sarah. She'll be taking over." And Sarah says, "Are you serious? I'm lead anchor just like that?" Alex is looking pretty serious, and he says, "Can the inconnuity act, Gibson? After the pet trade ring and the Carmichael interview and your emu footage, it's a no-brainer. You even brought me that Litcoin exclusive and inspired me to put my 401k on the Trey train." And Ellen is thinking as she looks kind of sad, "I feel like my life is flashing before my eyes. Who am I if I'm not at the top of Northbridge News?" And then Ellen says out loud, "Yeah, well, wake up, Susie Q. You're in a viper den, dreaming that the snakes are blankets." Sarah's thinking, clap back. Sarah says, "Until someone other than a jealous underling says it, it isn't true." Ellen storms from the room without another word, and Alec chuckles. He says, "I'm sure going to miss the banter between you two. Seriously, get a room already." You try to shake off Ellen's parting words, but they linger in your head as Alec tells you more about the new position. Alec says, other benefits too. You're really the leader of the entire team, after me, of course. First thing you need to do... And Sarah, in her mind, she says, wake up, Susie Q. You're in the Viper Den, dreaming at the snakes. And Alex says, are you listening? I said to get down to the writer's desk and grab the leads. And Sarah says, yep, on my way, Mr. Burdock. And as you head out the door, you shove all the questions you still have from your mind for now. Sarah's thinking, this is exactly what I wanted, isn't it? If I overthink things and make a mistake, I'll have no one to blame but myself. And you arrive at the writer's desk a few minutes later to collect your leads for the day. And Jude says, oh, hey, Sarah! Ellen's sending you to do her dirty work today? And Sarah says, well, long story short, I'm doing my own dirty work. I just got promoted to head reporter. And June, her mouth drops, and she says, are you serious? Congratulations! And then in her mind, she's thinking, and I thought no one's day could be better than mine. Something must be in the air. And Sarah says, well, thanks. Well, but enough about me. I get the feeling you're holding back some news of your own. And June beams as she shuffles her list of leads. Well, I finally built up the courage to ask Maggie out, and we have our first date tonight. Oh my god, it just hit me. We have our first date tonight. And Sarah says, you'll be fine. Just look at her eyes. They'll tell you everything you need to know. And June says, sure, you say that. You're so aware now. You used to kind of ramble and fumble and... No offense. I just hope I don't. I hope I don't do to Maggie what I just did to you. Sarah says, none taken. And you're right. I've definitely picked up a skill since I started reporting. And June says, dating must be easy for you now. You never say the wrong thing anymore. And Sarah says, well, honestly, dating is still a minefield for me. I might have conversation skills, but I can't see the future of anything. And June says, good. I don't want to be alone in how terrifying this all is. And Sarah says, no way, sister. Love is a hazard to your health, no matter who you are. And June kind of frowns, and she says, well, maybe I'm just psyching myself out. I want everything to be perfect for her. We've been getting so close. And in her mind, she's thinking, it's been so long since I've even gone out. What do people do on first dates now? As June's thoughts rattle through your head, a barrage of images follow them. Let's see. First date material. How expensive are roses? And June's thinking, I don't know! Sarah says, I'm sure you'll be fine. The important part is good company and conversation. And June says, I guess that's true. Who needs fireworks on the first date? Probably not Maggie, right? And Sarah says, you're the firework, June. You're smart, you're funny, you're super sweet. I think Maggie's showing up for you, not for the possibility of luxurious gifts and adventure. And June says, you know, Maggie told me she never would have gotten up the nerve to talk to me if it wasn't for you. You're like our Cyrano de Bergerac. And June says, I know, you've got the perfect first date moves cooking in that quirky noggin of yours. And Sarah says, well, I do bring the whimsy. And Sarah says, or she's thinking, I wonder if I could loop Tony and his violin in on this. So tutorial, sneak along on Maggie and June's first date to help June win over her crush and turn your colleagues into better friends. Nope. Sorry, June. After getting this promotion, I think my nights are going to be pretty full and not with dates. June frowns. She says, okay, I guess I'll have to fumble and stick my foot in my mouth the old-fashioned way. Sarah says, that's the spirit. As a lifelong fumbler, I can tell you that some people find it endearing. Maggie says, June says, I hope Maggie's one of those people. Sarah says, she is. Trust me. Tell me how it goes. June says, you bet. It'll be front page news, Ms. Gibson. And after chatting for a few more minutes, you head back to your dressing room with the leads and ready to work. Later that night, you swing by your dad's place to share the news of your promotion. And Dad looks shocked, and he's like, "Hey there, Sarah, I was just about to get ready for bed. What brings you by at this hour?" And Sarah's grinning at her dad, says, "I should just let you see on TV first, and really surprise you, but I can't hold it in! I got promoted to head reporter!" And Dad's smiling, and he says, "Wow, Pumpkin, after all these years, you really showed me." Sarah says, "Aw, come on, Dad. It was never about showing you. It was about showing myself. Like, you know, everything's not about you, Dad. Not always." And Sarah's thinking, and it was a little bit about showing you, too. And Dad says, "Well, I'm happy for you. It's the job you've always wanted, and you got it with hard work and a good heart. Happy?" And Sarah says, "Oh, totally." And Dad says, "Well, how did you rise through the ranks so quickly? Your boss must have really been taken with your gumption, huh?" And Sarah says, "I've done really well on all my assignments, and I got Ellen, the old lead anchor, fired." And Dad looks shocked, and he says, "Well, she probably deserves it."
Brace yourself for immediate disintegration.
Crimson Pleasure, thank you for the invasion. We love a good invasion. After all, we are Martians. Welcome, welcome, and welcome. Crimson Pleasure, happy stream anniversary. How did it go? Well, Sarah says, "Well, I caught her going through the boss's things, and it felt like the right thing to do at the time." And Dad says, "Well, does it still? You don't look happy about it." And Sarah says, "Well, I don't know quite how I feel about what happened, honestly." Hey, Crimson! Thank you for the invasion, because I know you're probably in the ad.
Brace yourself for immediate disintegration.
Oh, gosh. Cake the Nightmare, thank you for the invasion. We love a good invasion. After all, we are Martians.
Oh dear, now I shall have to create more Martians.
Well, thank you for following, Funky Lemonade. Welcome to the mothership. Thank you, and thank you both for your invasions, and welcome everyone from Kinky's and Crimson's channels. I am MartianKat. This is an app called Choices, and the story that I'm reading is called Wishful Thinking. We're in Chapter 9 right now. And Sarah says, "It just feels weird to get this promotion through Ellen's loss. It's hollow somehow." And Dad looks shocked, and he says, "Hey, this is all you've talked about for 2 years. Hell, your whole life. Don't talk yourself out of it now." Ooh, you did an 8-hour stream? Alright, thank you. And a happy stream anniversary again. I hope you had a really good time. And Dad says, "What happened, and you benefited. Case closed." Oh, you're very welcome. Sarah says, "Ellen's just inside my head. She warned me when I got the job, but I'm sure it was part of some plot to make me insecure." Dad smiles and says, "That's my girl. Your boss promoted you because you've got a nose for the truth, and you can't trust people who have something to gain from your loss. You've got to watch out." And in his mind, he's thinking, now that you're lead reporter, that's more true than ever. God, I hope you can do it. And Sarah smiles and says, "Exactly. I know you're right. I'm ready to keep my head on a swivel. I guess I'd better get out of here and let you get to bed. I just wanted to share." And Dad smiles and says, "Okay, sweetheart, I'll see you Saturday. Have a good night, and good job with that promotion. You leave, your dad's voice still ringing in your head.
So all the ladies are cheering.
And Sarah is thinking, you've got to watch out, can't trust people. And as you walk to your car, you see Jaime's light still on down the street and relax. Jaime! Sarah says, I wonder if he's awake. And you knock on his front door and wait. And after a moment, it pops open. And Jaime has no shirt on. Whoa! and he's looking shocked. And he says, "Oh, hey, Sarah, what's up? I just got out of the shower." Oh, dang. Oh, dang, Jaime. Sarah says, "It's okay. I'm the one knocking on your door in the middle of the night. Am I disturbing you? I need to talk to somebody." And Jaime says, "Well, no. Come on up. I'll throw on some clothes." And you follow Jaime to his bedroom. And he says, "It's not that Burdock guy again, is it? Is he making trouble for you?" And Sarah says, "Actually, for once, the answer is no. He gave me the job I always dreamed of. I'm head reporter now." And Jaime smiles, "Oh my God, congrats!" And Jaime sweeps you up in a long hug, and you let your fingers play in his shaggy hair. You're reluctant to pull away when it's over. And Jaime looks a little sad, and he says, "Something's still wrong, though, I can tell." "That's our guy." As Jaime slips back into his clothes, you let yourself really open up about Ellen and Alec and your conflicted emotions surrounding the promotion. Conflicted emotions surrounding the promotion? That's, that rhymed. Hey, Kinky. Thanks again for the invasion. I appreciate it. What were y'all playing? Were you doing, It's like, darn it, why do you have to do that? I know! It was like, wait a minute, he hugged her and he wasn't even dressed yet? Excuse me? He was wrapped in a towel hugging Sarah? What? Oh, you played DVD? Nice. Nice. We'll be playing that tomorrow. I'll be playing Dead by Daylight with Bitch and Cupcake tomorrow. That'll be fun. It's like our Friday night thing now. Definitely looking forward to those double blood points. Sarah says, "I have magical powers and I still feel so lost. How is that possible?" And Jaime says, "It's okay, Sarah. We all feel that way sometimes. And you might be able to read minds, but you're still human." Sarah says, "I still have so many questions. Like, did I actually deserve this at all? I've worked for everything I have, and in my experience, doing a job right takes years. This promotion feels sloppy and forced and hollow and cheap." And Jaime's mouth is dropped, and he says, "That's a lot of bad words to describe a good thing, Sarah." Sarah says, "I never worried about things being taken that I had earned the hard way, but it's easy to take stolen things." And he said, "You didn't steal anything. Luck was involved, but that doesn't mean you should turn it down. In my humble opinion, you deserved a little luck." And Jaime pulls you close, and you drop your head onto his chest, closing your eyes, and you sigh as your worry is quiet. And Sarah says, "Oh, Jaime, at least I know you front to back. And you always will. No surprises here." And Sarah says, "Well, you do take an eerie amount of pride in how quickly you can drain a gallon of milk. That was a surprise." And Jaime's mouth drops. And he says, "I take an eerie amount of pride because I can drink with an eerie amount of speed." It's almost on par with your mind-reading abilities as far as superpowers go. And Jaime assumes a superheroic pose, and you can't help but giggle. He's such a goof, I love it. And Jaime says, "See, I don't like to see you this stressed out, Sarah. I miss my bubbly, goofy sidekick." And Sarah says, "So you're a milk-based superhero, but a woman with actual superpowers is your sidekick? This is the patriarchy right here." And Jaime laughs, and he's like, "Focus up, Sarah. This isn't about which of us makes the hunkiest superhero. This is about getting you back to bubbly. You know what I'm thinking? Let's get out of this damn city. Why don't you come away with me for an hour or two?" And Sarah says, "But I have work in the morning. Where would where would we even go that's really away? And Jaime says, the mountains outside of Northbridge. Away from the lights of the city, there's stars as far as you can see. You know, not right now. I'm gonna skip that. I know. It sounds crazy that I did that, but we're gonna skip it for now. And Sarah says, I'm exhausted already, and tomorrow is my first day as lead reporter. I can't sleep on the job. And Jaime says, yeah, I've got work in the AM too. No matter how late it is, though, you can still call if you need anything. Sarah says, thanks, Jaime. You've got it. And thanks for talking me down. I feel a lot better. He says, hey, anytime. You know where I live. And you embrace and wish Jaime a good night, heading home to get some good sleep before your big day. And it's late when you return home and you're exhausted. You trudge through the front door and slip off your shoes. Ah, it's only fair. I skipped everyone's scene today. I skipped Aubrey's scene, I skipped Anna's scene, and I skipped Jaime's scene. I know. Fishty faded. She's like, oh no, you know. Or they're like, yeah, no. I'm so sorry. That's how it rolled. I didn't do it. I agree, Eric. Fair is fair. You're right. You're right. Yeah, but no one wanted the Aubrey scene. That's true. Nobody wanted that. That's true. Nobody likes Aubrey. Wait, we need to find some Aubrey fans. Like, where's the love? Glory sticks her head out from behind her favorite hiding spot. Glory is thinking, aren't you late? You should have been here hours ago, petting me. Sarah says, well, don't act like you haven't been asleep since I left this morning, princess. Come have something to eat. And after refilling the pet food, you head back to the living room, too tired to even undress yet. And Sarah says, what a freaking day. I need to get horizontal on some couch cushions pronto. Dropping onto the couch, you sigh loudly and try to stop thinking so much. Glory strolls into the den from eating, coolly surveying the scene. And she looks a little sad. And she's thinking, what the heck happened here? You look like a mess, girl. Glory hops up onto the couch, too, delicately kneading your side. And then she purrs and thinks, tell me it just makes you feel better. And Sarah says, oh, Glory, even you're being sweet. And then Glory is thinking, okay, now do me. Get under my chin. Sarah says, and it's over. Come here, Glory. It's cuddling time. Glory is thinking the cat, she's a calico, and says, oh gods, here we go. You cuddle closer and you feel your body slowly relax. You're deeply asleep when a sudden pounding on the door wakes you. And Sarah says, who is knocking at this hour? Still bleary-eyed, you shuffle to the front door and open it. Anna stands before you with puffy eyes. Anna, are you okay? Sarah says. And Anna is looking really sad, and she says, there's something I need to tell you. You're going to want to sit down for this. And we have completed chapter